This is 15, a film review podcast. I'm Luke, and as always, I'm joined by Dan. Hi, Dan.
Howdy, how you doing?
Not bad, not bad. I'd love to say that the mess behind you is because you just moved because you're moving out of your house, but unfortunately, it's been like that for about a year. Is that correct?
Almost 10 months. T minus. What have you done today? I'll tell you what I've done. Been to a garden centre.
Yeah, settled into retirement.
Absolutely. In a place called Malham. Have you ever been?
Once or twice. Have you got anything else on the garden centre? Remember, I want to start the show out the blocks. Here we go. This is us. Please stay around.
Popping.
No, don't turn
Please
off
stay
again.
around. I actually am a bit of a sheep whisperer. There were some sheep by the garden centre. Basically barred at them, then started saying, come by, classic.
Very funny.
Did a bit of barking as well to simulate a dog. They all looked at me, then they huddled together. It was quite good. Say whisperer. Intimidator. Sorry.
I thought you meant when you said they looked at me, that was the staff.
No, we parked 12 miles away from the garden centre.
But
Grace was driving.
Went to look too out of place in Malham anyway. So Dan, have you seen what I'm rocking, by the way? Another plug to go and watch our video version of the podcast, which is in the show notes. I'm wearing a, Dan, how would you describe it?
Sexy lingerie.
Bought for me by
Mr. Sexy Lingerie.
It's an Asteroid City t-shirt. That's what it is.
I just want to talk about coming out the blocks hard. Spat that out. David Cranberry, I think, might be a perfect comedy name.
Who is it?
It's just a character. I don't know who he is, but I think David Cranberry. Of all the fruits to choose, cranberry is by far the best. Everything else feels too on the nose. So, the only thing that could come close is strawberry, I think.
If you had... Or gooseberry. If you hadn't...
No, too on the nose.
If you hadn't guessed already...
Simon Gooseberry, though. True.
This is a sign of ring rust, I believe is what they call it in the podcasting game. Me and Dan have not recorded... We only recorded one podcast in the last 6 months. So, and as usual, we haven't mustered the full strength to do a normal podcast. In today's episode, we're just going to review 2 films. I'd love to say these 2 films have just come out. I mean, for myself, I watched both films within 24 hours of their release. Dan, you're not as hot on it as I was on this one.
No, but I work a proper job and work hard, unlike some.
Yeah. Hospitality. Parents must be so proud. How proud is your father?
He's dead proud of me.
Stunned silence. Okay. Dan, the 2 films we're going to be reviewing today are Killers of the Flower Moon, Scorsese epic western, and The Killer, the David Fincher thriller about an assassin. So I think we're going to kickstart
epic
with...
western. Oh, sorry.
We're going to start with Killers of the Flower Moon. You've heard my review. Dan, why don't you're kind of rocking a Scorsese 1980s beard, to be honest. It's just a little bit more red than his was. Why don't we start with Killers of the Flower Moon? Talk to me about
Let's do that. Okay.
Oh,
I've split my notes. I've split my notes as pros and cons. We'll give you a flavour of what's to come.
Or just pick one and we'll just back and forth this.
Well, I think the best thing in this film is Molly, the Native American woman around which the film kind of centres. I thought
One sec. Let me just jump in just for a second, just because
you always do.
Some people might not know. So this film is set in the 1920s. It's a western, and it's about how Osage people found lots of fortune with discovering oil, and then the white people around them start to get their claws into them. And
I think this is what they call ring roast, which is when people who haven't done a podcast for a while, Luke, Oddie, decide to just tell the plot of the film analyze it. We did that back in season 1. If you want to go and listen to that.
So you like Molly in this? Yeah. Okay. Let's start with Molly. Molly's an interesting character because something that really strikes me about her is they talk about how the Osage people see...
You reading my notes?
The Osage people see someone that communicates too much or talks too much as stupidity. Dan, as you were saying, carry on, please.
No, you'd come interesting character. That's all I've got. No, the casting was particularly strong throughout the whole film, I thought, particularly the women, and I think that's what you were touching on there, is that the women hold quite well, I guess the film focused on that important role within the Osage community. All right, fuck it, I'll do it anyway. No, I thought she was a really interesting character. She really encaptured me personally at the start of the film. I felt like she was able to kind of give a bit back to the Leonardo DiCaprio character, which just makes more interesting viewing, having, you know, a protagonist who actually has something about them. On casting, horrible thing to say. Edit that out. Good fucking luck, you horrible person. On casting, how good was Robert De Niro though? He was very Onken. Did you say
on casting? Onken.
Oh, very good. That wasn't.
But fat lass is evil.
You're fucking flip flopping here. Fat lass, horrible thing to say. Onken. No, how beguiling was. How big it was my hands actually. Robert Downey Jr. He's not even in it. Robert De Niro was very beguiling and a really fantastic performance from him. I would like to see him get nominated for Best Supporting Character.
Are you going to let me talk?
You crack on. You've been laughing. I've been filling the space. Nobody wants to hear you fucking sausage mouth.
There's not a space that Dan doesn't fill. So let's do pros and cons. So you do the pro, I'll do a con. And let's keep it that way because I've got quite a few of these cons.
I've got a lot of cons. I hate this film more than you.
No, I do enjoy this, but I saw somewhere this film. Sorry, but I have a bit of an issue with the protagonist played by Leonardo DiCaprio being such a simpleton. Like this guy is like Simple Jack. You remember Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder? You know, Ben Stiller's big role. Before And I just think what should be a very interesting narrative string of, does Leonardo DiCaprio know what he's doing in poisoning? Does he love her? What the tension there between his uncle and her is just dissolved because this guy is such a simpleton and he's so easily manipulated. So that tension is completely lost there for me. And I have
Ernest, who that's his name, isn't it? Ernest. Mm-hmm. He's not a strong enough character to hold this film. And actually, it kind of links into a double point for me, which I really liked the story they were telling. I did not like how it was executed, because for me, we had Molly, who was the protagonist. You had who was an interesting character, really well played. You had Robert De Niro playing King, who was this kind of, you know, false friend, really great antagonist. But it was told through the focus of Ernest, who was a bystander. He was a pawn in both people's games, and he wasn't interesting. And it's too long to be watching that play out.
Yeah, and 100%. I love what you picked up there in terms of length of this film. Like, I haven't seen enough made about the fact that this feels so long. Like, yes, I know it's a 3.5-hour film, including credits. Oppenheimer's also kind of close to that length, and the difference is so stark. I found myself, unfortunately, in the cinema starting to think, especially when it's over 2 hours before the FBI show up, in this investigation film. And then I'm sitting there thinking, you could have cut that scene. That 10-minute scene could have been a 4-minute scene. You could have cut that. And I'm starting to look around the screen and I'm being pulled out of the immersive experience just because it's just taking too long. And I'm fine with a long film. I am, honestly. But this is just so slow. I know it's meant to be a slow burn and the evil's ever growing in Osage, but it becomes so obvious who the enemies are to these Osage people, and we're picking them off one by one. And I know it sets the scene fantastically for an hour, but God, this is too freaking long. Jesse Plemons shows up and it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
But for me, the length isn't the main criticism of this film. I 100% agree with you. It's too long. And I had a similar thing. If you start clock watching and you can't start going, is this the ending? Oh, this could be the ending. And it's not the ending. Oh, this could be the ending. Oh, it's not the ending. But they focused for too long on the wrong bits. So I would have had a way longer, slower opening, seeing more about the Indian, the Osage people, and how that oil and that wealth is kind of far more interesting, because we don't hear those minority stories ever. And it was almost, it reminded me a bit of Babylon. I know that's a weird kind of reference, but it was so kind of, the opening felt so kind of Carnival-esque and kind of so ludicrous. I was like, are we watching some, what? Shut up. But then, it would have had a more impact. It would have had greater impact later on in the actual film than when we see this kind of insidious inversion going on between the start of the film is Indian white, and then it turns to white versus Indian. That inversion of the balance on screen of the people you're seeing and the culture you're kind of experiencing. And it would have had more impact if we'd have spent longer with them, but we didn't. We spent hours and hours watching, boring, simple Jack. Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't want to go too harsh on this, because I do genuinely really like a lot of the elements in this film. Like, I think it's shot gorgeously throughout. I actually quite like that we don't spend too much time with the Osage people. I don't think you need to. That glorious scene of the oil springing out, and it's like a poetic moment of them worshipping this oil at the start. That's kind of enough to get like a flavor of them. As long as it then moves quickly through everything else, like you say, it just takes too long with everyone else in this film.
I think I agree with you in part. I think the production is high, but for me,
200
this
mil.
was, well, there you go. But they've whitewashed a minority story about Indians. Like, I'm not being funny, but Molly should be the front and center of this film, and she's not. It's Leonardo DiCaprio, then you've got Robert De Niro, and then it was just completely whitewashed. Even the cameo at the end of Martin Scorsese, which is like fun at first, you're like, haha, and then it's like, oh wait, Martin Scorsese is now in his own film, another white male, Brendan Fraser, all of these big cameos. I was just by that point checked out, because it was just a whitewashing of a story. You're telling a story about Indians being abused, and you cast all the big names and make all the focus about these white people. It just didn't hit for me. I think they missed a massive trick.
De Niro's very good.
De Niro is very good.
De Niro is very, very good. I mean, I feel like we've given nominations for supporting actor to like 10 people right now, but surely he's going to be nominated. I would have thought for that.
I'd like to see him and Robert Downey Jr. go up against each other for it, because it's kind of similar roles in a way for the false friend.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much. You mentioned there the ending. So this meta ending where they jump to a stage play where they wrap up the end. I mean, first of all, at least they got through it quickly. I like that.
Yeah, I like that bit. I liked the ending, just not.
But what was the? Well, I'm all for like these sort of pretentious meta endings. Don't get me wrong. But what was the correlation there? And then why is Scorsese? I can only think other than Legacy. Why is Scorsese reading the final line? What is going on? Is it because it's a powerful movie for him, so he wants to say the line? It just felt bizarre,
indulgent. And if you're going to do it kind of dystopian in that manner, could you not also have done just a random Indian chief coming on? It would have, an Osage chief. It felt like that we missed a scene at the start where we should have seen the opening of that radio play.
That would have been quite nice to prelude it. I just want to a couple more quick points before we jump into the next film, though. So this is 3.5 hours. The Irishman, 3.5 hours. Silence, film before that one was 2 hours 45. Wolf of Wall Street, 3 hours. What is wrong with Scorsese at the moment that he can't do a film that's an okay running time?
Maybe he needs an editor.
And I think that was our old thing we used to say about Tarantino.
I found out a fact about that. Do you know she died?
Yes. Yeah.
No, you did.
You're gonna have to say a bit more, because that just sounds. We talking about Tarantino's edit. Yeah.
Basically, after she died, which is after Inglourious Basterds, Tarantino's nobody's been able to rein Tarantino in, so his films get longer and longer and more indulgent. His best film is Reservoir Dogs. It's 90 minutes. There you go.
Yes. Well, yes. I do like it. But what I was going to say was The Irishman, I'm fine with the length of The Irishman being 3.5 hours, because it transcends. In that final half hour, it becomes a completely different film, and it's a spectacular ending in The Irishman. This doesn't. It's a slow burn, but you don't get the payoff at all. No. You kind of, where you're heading, going there the whole time. You end up at that destination, and then all of a sudden, Martin Scorsese stood on the stage reading something out after doing smoking adverts. I'm like, oh, and it finished. And also, what I'm trying to say is, you saw this film recently. I watched this film 5 weeks ago, and it's not memorable. There's not scenes like you're going to go and watch Saltburn in a bit, and Saltburn at times is a bit of a flawed film, but this is a film that's come out at the same time. It's going to be an Oscar season, so I think you can compare the two. Saltburn has so many memorable scenes that stay under your skin, and I'm really struggling to remember some of the scenes in this film. Like Jesse Plemons dressed. How many times has Jesse Plemons been an FBI agent? Like he seems like he's always FBI.
Yeah, I hear that.
Okay, Dan, what are you giving this one out of 5?
I give it 3.5.
Yeah, I give it 4. I feel like I've slagged it off in the entirety of this film, but it is genuinely very good in parts.
I gave it
above
3 because of the production value. I think it misses stuff. And my final thing I just want to add on this film, I just think they missed a bit of a trick with Molly. They didn't see her characterization through, which I think kind of, again, perhaps shows the flaw in this film, in that she goes from being quite a strong woman to being just a kind of subservient woman. And I would have been more interested in seeing a film that was focused on her conflict rather than just becoming a demure white woman. Well, not a demure white woman, a demure Indian wife to a white man. And then,
Imagine if she just became white during the film. That'd be fantastic. Cameo for
that
MJ.
would be.
No, but I completely agree. It was a bit like Phantom Thread for me, that moment where she knows she's being poisoned, or does she know? And it's that duality. Yeah. But it wasn't. Also, there's something to. She's so sickly for like an hour of this film that I'm gonna get fed up of watching her be sick. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, get off the screen, making me feel gross.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Okay.
Horrible human.
Okay, so next one. Now the killer. Now I'm going to set this up with. This is one of my favorite directors.
Yeah,
this is like the perfect genre for me.
Yeah,
and so like there's going to be.
How
some
disappointed
bias.
were you?
Oh, I love this.
Oh God.
Well. So let me set the scene again. So David Fincher, who right now I don't know if there's anyone better in terms of director with his resume. I don't think anyone can really come close to his resume. Maybe Denis Villeneuve, maybe, but off the back of like 7, Fight Club, Zodiac, Social Network, Gone Girl.
When did those films go out?
Don't say Mank. Don't mention Mank.
Films come out? The really good ones you mentioned. They came out
Gone Girl's
15 years ago.
Gone Girl's not that old. Now,
no, Gone Girl. I was excluding Gone Girl from that.
Mank was his last one, which we don't really talk about Mank because that was.
I liked Mank.
Oh, did you?
It was all right.
You were the one then. Okay, so this is. I know this has been said everywhere, but it's so true. David Fincher is known as an obsessive, meticulous perfectionist, and he is so self-aware in this film.
Was he rushed this film then?
Okay, you jump in. What are you talking? You jump in. Go on.
No. Go on. I don't want this to be a fucking arse lick of this film, because this film isn't that good, and definitely compared to the resume you just listed, this falls woefully short by comparison. And I think this film, like you just gave the criticism of for Killers of the Flower Moon, I saw on Monday, and none of it stays with me other than how annoying the opening is.
Oh, I absolutely love the opening. My only reservation about this film actually is, from the opening, I thought it was going to be a different film. And I thought we might have this gorgeous transatlantic thriller, which is very much like Girl with Dragon Tattoo is, which is one of his, of course. I thought it was going to be more of that vibe, and it isn't. But I'm trying to get better as a film reviewer and not review films on what's not there, reviewing what's actually there. And I'm still very happy with the lean revenge thriller that proceeds.
Is it lean enough? Because it's 2 hours, this film, and the first hour is incredibly slow and takes a while to get moving for me.
What? We are so far off on this.
I want to start on a kind of bigger thing, which is, and it kind of goes.
Returning.
Yeah, no, very good. It goes on exactly what you've said but I wanted this film to be more ambitious and more kind of tenacious with it. Basically, the big thing for me is I really didn't like the narration overhead. It felt really pretentious. The dialogue felt terrible for me. It comes from a graphic novel, so it's not got a great source material to come work from. So it just felt really kind of annoying. I almost felt like it was added in because Michael Fassbender wasn't a good enough actor to deliver the scene that David Fincher wanted. I would have loved
Michael Fassbender not a good enough actor.
Not in this scene. That's where I'm at, because it was annoying, this narration. It was so annoying. And I would have loved that. And it was 15 minutes, that whole opening thing, where him just talking over
Loved it.
And I did not. And I wished it had been 10 minutes and it had been absolute silence. And I think that would have been... No. I think that would
be far more...
No. Continue to do the same film that you were just doing, but it would have been far more interesting to watch a silent and actually make your audience think, rather than tell us how boring it is to be an assassin. You have to sit there, you have to switch off, and then that coming back at the end, you have him basically sat there with his wife, who is just revenged on, killed all those people for, and he does a little twitch because he can't be bored with his wife. Like, what? Come on, tell a better story than that.
I don't mind how painstakingly realistic that part feels. I quite like that. I was actually engrossed. How often do you watch a realistic, authentic action film? Like, virtually never.
I agree. The scene, I think the blocking is good. I'm not got anything against that. I think the way he does
Yoga.
it, but yeah, all of that, I get that. I thought that was really interesting. But why labor it with this annoying narration? And it's not good dialogue. Listen to it back. It's like, what? I get it. You're hamming over the point of, oh, it's so boring to be an international assassin. Oh, like, I get it. But you can tell that in a better way. You can tell that just by what he's doing. The images do it. The cinematography does it.
Okay, let me jump
when
in a
he
little bit here.
Oh shit, I fucked up. What?
Dan,
oh my god.
Maybe we disagree, but I think this is fucking cool. I just think this is a cool film, and I like how stylish it is. I probably agree that maybe it would have been better to have minimal dialogue at the start, but Dan, this is on Netflix now. Unfortunately, pigs to the trough. You can't redo that.
Well, you're a pig then. Go and eat.
It's been called worse. Now
I mean, enough... I've just go on. You talk for a bit. I think I just ranted.
I think there's enough of a character study here as well for me. I've seen some people slate the fact that it's not enough of a character study. Yes, he's a bit of a cold character, but I think his obsession comes through, and I think there's enough intrigue there to keep that carrying on. And I admit I love lean, clean, simple dialogue films. So everything is just perfect. Every shot is perfection. That's what I like, and this is exactly what it delivered.
I think. I mean, I did enjoy the rest of the film after the first hour. When it got going, I thought it was actually really good. The action, the pacing in the second half of the film was really good. I thought the ending was rubbish, but for 45 minutes, it was really going. Maybe even an hour. Maybe the first 45 minutes and the last 15 were boring. But after that, it was properly going. I thought the vignettes with where he kills his boss, where he kills the two assassins who went after his wife were fantastic. I mean, Tilda Swinton was awesome. That whole bit was brilliant.
Very good. Good screenplay there, Dan, was it? Was that good screenplay there? Yeah.
Yeah, I've literally said the screenplay was okay. It was the screenplay was good there. Yes, actually. He developed all of his time. The dialogue was good in that bit. But that's poor because Tilda Swinton's doing it, not because you've got, oh my God, I'm so bored. 8 hours a day. I do yoga. I line my gun up. Like, yeah, don't tell me what you're fucking doing. Show me. But no, the action was phenomenal. Those fight scenes were brilliant.
Oh, extremely good. Yes, especially in Florida when he's taking out the brute.
And that bit with the dog, when the dog's running after him, your heart in your mouth, like, fantastic. Really, really enthralling.
Do you not find this is like a perfect tonic? Like,
no,
and
I would not use the word perfect.
To these epic slogs of films that we've got coming out at the moment. Like, everyone.
Like what?
Like what we just talked about.
Yeah, but if you're telling me, if you're going to say this is refreshing because it's 2 hours and there's a load of fat
because of what it
compared
is
to a 3.5 hour bloated film, yes, okay, of course it's better.
This honestly just maybe we're just so far off from this. This felt like a blast to me. It's just well made, well acted thriller, and that's just exactly what I like. And I thought, yes, I understand that
you're not going to critique it though.
The director is
just going to fanboy him.
The director is the star here, and I understand Michael Fassbender's character is not asked to do too much, but I think there's enough of a character study there.
I've got no problem with Michael Fassbender's character in this because it's fine. I get him. He's a cold, ruthless assassin. He's not meant to be particularly complex. But then I would argue, don't then center the film around his loving wife and girlfriend, who we do spend no time with. It's
not about that, really.
But then that's fine. I can accept that. And yes, I agree. And there's kind of a level of personal pride that we're perhaps actually supposed to focus on, like his pride's been jilted because he missed, and then people are acknowledging that failure. So I understand all of that. I get it. I've got no problem with Michael Fassbender's character. My only comment is maybe I don't think he's strong enough, is because I just can't understand this opening. The first 15 minutes were so obnoxious, and so pretentious, and it just tanked the rest of the film for me. But yeah, I agree. Well made. Pacey when it needed to be. The color, the kind of toning of the whole film, I really enjoyed. Felt very kind of noir without being black and white.
Agreed.
I really liked all of that. We had a lot of kind of night shots, so there was that kind of orange light, kind of with lots of shadows. I thought that was really well made, and it was tense. But it felt like a really great kind of run action sequence, and then there wasn't a lot to kind of hold it up.
I think also very much akin to what he did with Fight Club. Fight Club underneath, the frame is very much about capitalism as a film, and that has elements here, this sort of sociopathy which can be eased by convenience, like Amazon and the Starbucks and the whole enterprise and rent cars. Do you not like that element?
Storage wars, Luke. They mentioned Storage Wars. You're not telling me you hate fucking pop culture.
I like Storage Wars, though. I do like Storage Wars.
Come on. So because you like it, you're going to give him a free pass. And how many times I forgot that?
If they'd mentioned come outside, I'd give him a pass.
Very good. How many times did they have to mention he's got a different name? Like, yeah, I get it. He's an international man he's an assassin. Of course he's got fucking different names. I don't need that told to me like 8 times.
They played the Smiths all the way through the film, Dan. This is a cool film.
Is it? Because of, Morrissey. Wow.
Okay, let's wrap that up there. Dan, what are you giving that one out of 5?
3.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll give that 4.5. We are
4.5?
We're going to be so far.
Go back and look at what you've given other 4.5 films and compare that. You're just ultimately fanboying because it's David Fincher. I think you're doing a disservice. What would you give Fight Club? Like Fight Club, the reason the dialogue and the narration works is because it comes from a book. Like he's lifting good material.
Yeah, I'm not actually overawed with Fight Club, to be completely honest. So, right, Dan, are any of those films making your top 10? Because you usually pick from a pool of 9 for your top 10.
I was going to say, probably, but they'll be bottom end of the pile.
You've got to watch a few more. So, one sec, you're going to go to the cinema. What have you got on your plate to keep watching? What are you going to
Bottoms, Saltburn.
Yes, seen them both. How about Fair Play? That's on Netflix. That's probably going to be my top 10. So it's easy thriller about gender and power. That's worth a good watch. Okay, Dan. Well, it was nice to get back at it. It's a shame you despised all the films as you usually do.
At least it makes for interesting discussion.
Well, I'll let them be the judge of that. Okay, then. I'll speak to you next time after we've watched Bottoms and Saltburn. See you then.
Absolutely. Take care.